Hello.
Hello, hello.
I am in the same exact position and wearing the same exact clothes and in the same exact spot as I was 24 hours ago. Not close, just this week.
Hmm,
But
well,
when we recorded our last rankings, so
um, and you know what's crazy? I'm pretty much in the exact same position as I was in terms of my feelings on a lot of people.
it's also like we learned zero new information. I said Dally was going to win this HOH.
I
I
think the rest of the
Eric
season
was getting evicted unanimously.
is going to go pretty much how we predicted to go. I think, I mean, so yeah, obviously, so Eric went home with the final six. You know that. We predicted that Dally would win final five HOH. That happens. It seems like she's going to nominate Jacob and Eduardo, which was our guess. I assume one of two things will happen. One, Dakota wins the veto. Two, the final two in the veto are Dakota and Jacob, in which case Dakota throws it to Jacob.
Which I think would be very hard to pull off. Like at that point, he should just
Um,
win and use it on him.
Either way, I think Eduardo is the most likely boot at the final five. I think that it doesn't matter who really wins final four HOH. What matters is the fact that Donnie can't win it. And I think Dakota's the most likely winner of the web. If Dakota wins the web, he's going to evict Dally at four, leaving the final three as Jacob, Ashley, and himself. If he does not do that, it's going to be probably Dally that wins the web. And if Dally wins the web, then it's Jacob that's going home if he's not HOH. So
Like,
Ashley's looking like she's in final three. Dakota's looking like he's in final three. And the question is, which of the other ones is going to join them right
I think
now?
it's gonna be
Anyway,
Jacob. I think it's gonna be Jacob. I don't see Dally winning the final veto over Dakota. She's outwardly said like, "Oh, I do not know the season at all," which could prompt her to really study, but who knows?
yeah. I
Okay,
mean, she knows it's coming, but anyway, let's talk about people. This week
Ash,
is pretty straightforward. Let's start with Ashley. Yeah.
like nothing happened this week at all. Like nothing happened.
I feel like a lot of what happened this week happened in jury and their perception of the game.
Yeah, I mean Ashley,
We
like,
still talk about it doing nothing. Actually, unfortunately, like I feel bad because it's not for lack of trying. Like Ashley's here and playing the game. She's just not actively making moves. She's not doing the best in comps. It's just
and she's gonna get dragged to the end.
I don't think she has a case. Again, this goes back to what we were saying last night. I forget if this is on the rankings or not. I don't think Ashley has a 0% chance to win the game, but I think Ashley has a 0% chance for her winning, for people voting for her because they think she played the best. The question is going to be really, are you going to vote for the person next to Ashley, or are you not going to vote for the person next to Ashley? Is how I see her game right now.
Mhm.
And listen, people have won that way. So she's such a lock for final three that I'm going to actually
Mhm.
raise my score,
Yeah,
but only two of four. And that's because she, like, in all honesty, like, could get some votes, but
I mean, especially if this final two is Ashley and Jacob, which I think it very, very well could be. I think that is like, I think it could be Eduardo going out here, Dally going out next, and then I could see Jacob winning the final HOH because you only need to win one of the first two parts, and then I guess the second part is now like more of a like less of a crapshooty, not skills or just us competition anymore. But it's a competition that could be won still by either of them. So I could totally see that scenario occurring, and this is what we were talking about last night and earlier today. Like, I think it's very, very much up in the air what happens between Ashley and Jacob.
I agree. But I think it's open the air. She has a serious shot.
Say it again.
it's up in the air, like as in like she has a very serious shot,
Yeah, I
you
mean
know?
that's kind of what I meant by up in the air. Like they both have pretty equal shots at winning. I think, in my opinion, it depends. It's gonna be depending on one or two votes. Um,
But again, it's like we say that, and I wouldn't even phrase it that way. It's like I think Jacob has an equal shot of winning and losing. You know what I mean? Like that's how passively I feel about Ashley's game.
mhm. No, yeah, I agree with that. So I'm also gonna go up to a four because I agree that she could win the game that way. So yeah, and I feel so bad for her. Just like in general, I feel so terrible and
It's like,
awful.
overall.
Like in the top 10, 15, like nicest people to ever play. Dakota,
I mean, let's just recap here. Starting back in week 2 of the jury on Eric's first HOH. Plant the seeds that EJ is a huge threat. Following week on Alfred's HOH, the seeds have already been planted. Alfred wants to get rid of EJ. During that time, Dakota's talking with Eric to plan out a theoretical safety change scenario or double scenario in which Alfred goes home. Guess what happens? Alfred goes home. Next week, Eric wins HOH. What does Dakota do? Convinces Eric that Brady should be the target, not Dally. Then stiff arms him into giving him the veto to save Dally, all the while building up Eric as a big threat. A lot of people can try and take credit for that move. It was Dakota was the one that really got the ball rolling on Eric. Sure, a lot of people were thinking Eric's a big threat. However, the person that I feel like actually vocalized it first and got it going was Dakota. Um, and we saw that happen this week. Eduardo wins HOH. I think regardless of what Dakota said, Eduardo was always going to put up Eric. He's been put up twice by Eric. But regardless, Dakota was talking about it before, and you know what he's going to do now? Do the exact same thing, I think, where he got Eduardo to take out Eric, and now he's going to take him out this week. You know what I mean? So I still have nothing but praises for Dakota. His biggest obstacle is going to be talking to this damn jury who is bitter at him for some reason.
mhm.
Newsflash, jury. Dakota's playing a great game. You can be mad at it all you want, but he hasn't ratted out info. He hasn't been mean or personal to anyone. He really hasn't lied, also. He's actively told the truth to a lot of people, but has either left out information or then will like go someone real fast and get someone else to take him out. You know what I mean? He's actively what he's done is actively make everyone else take shots at each other, and he's just helping like directing where those shots will be taken. So I'm hoping that the story comes around on him because he's played phenomenally. I'm
Yeah,
staying at my. This is another great week.
I mean, I'm thinking about it like if we're our predictions. I mean, I feel like this end game is going to be fairly predictable. Um, we've already talked about this. I think if Eduardo goes here and if Dakota takes out Dally next week, it's. I think it honestly could be like if he wins the final HOH, it's gonna have to be him convincing the jury. He's gonna like Jacob probably. I'm guessing. And take Ashley.
I don't know about that anymore because he thinks the jury is still bitter against Jacob, and he's right. He just doesn't realize that they're also bitter against him.
Whatever he chooses, it's gonna that's gonna be his most uphill battle. Is going to be talking to the jury,
Mhm.
not getting there. I think he has close to a locked chance of getting to the final two. Um,
I think his other biggest issue is he's been right about everything in the game so far. And the only thing that he's been wrong about, he's like, and if I get to the end, I'm like, boom, I just had the best case. I'm like, oh man. I'm like,
so
we're
I'm also
not.
gonna say my nine. None of these people have changed. Dally. Okay, Dally. I'll start on Dally. Dally, I think, wins a jury vote against anybody here for sure.
Correct.
Absolutely no question. The only problem is unless she really puts in the work and studies, I see no way for her to make it past next week. So it's like it doesn't even matter if you're the top dog to win if you're not going to get there. So that's my thing with Dally. It's a very like mm, kind of similar to how I felt about Grace Fader, like the final 7 or 6. It was like I think you will absolutely 100% crush it and win if you get to the end, but I don't necessarily know if you're going to make it there if you don't win. So it's very tricky because I think she will beat anybody here. Where do you
Yeah,
stand?
I say pretty similarly. Her toughest battle is Final Four because she can't play for HOH. Um, I think you're absolutely correct in saying that she not only like wins a jury vote against anyone, but I think could very easily be no, she's not gonna get her. So but could come depending on who she's up against, could come close to being the first 9-0 juror. Um,
I think it could happen. I don't I don't think any jurors vote is locked against her
Agreed.
for sure.
Um,
100%.
Eric's is the closest thing to being locked against her. Um, so, but even with that being said, her game has been great. It's been a great game. It's also based on how the jury's talking. It's the game that the jury wants to see and seems to like more. The publicly name aside, stick to it, and do what you can to get there. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, that's going to be why Kelly goes out of four. Um, I also want to talk about her winning the veto this week and not using it because Slay,
Oh, also, yeah, this week was great for her.
give it back to Eric.
Yeah, seriously, Eric meets. We'll get to Eric, but
We'll talk about Eric, but I mean, Dali won this veto.
I think this week was good for her. She stuck to her guns. She has a great case, and she will win if she gets to the end. It's I think I'm gonna go up to an 8 this week because she
Oh,
played
that's what I'm
well.
doing too. I haven't
She
done that
played
yet, but
well this week, so we'll see.
I'm in the exact same spot. Um, yeah, it really is just a question of can she make it through before.
All right, Eduardo.
He's in love. He's gonna think that I was the one to take out Eric, therefore it's a huge move on my resume.
Like,
Wrong.
yeah, that yeah.
He's another one like Ashley, where it's just like I haven't seen any active moves with him. People present him with things, and then he generally does what they say and convinces
We've been saying
himself
the
that
same
it's
thing for the last like
the
4
best for
years.
his team.
Oh yeah, I
The
feel like
jury,
there's
for
no.
whatever reason, is like, yay, Eduardo. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't see it. They're all just bitter, which is really unfortunate to see because it leaves a very bitter taste in my mouth with you. Um,
And also like there's only a very slim chance he makes it past this upcoming week.
yeah, I mean,
Really,
we'll
no
see.
matter who was in power, because he wasn't going to be able to play for HOH, and I don't think he's going to win this veto, and people want him out. So it only takes
Yeah,
two this week, no matter how the cookie crumbles.
and also most likely how things shake out. Say he is here past this week at Final Four. I mean, granted, Valley's probably going, but like, I don't see him winning the comps. And maybe I'll email him later. Maybe he has a lot of notes that I just don't see, but who knows? Um, yeah, I'm raising my score for Eduardo to a 4 for the main reasons of he was the HOH to take out Eric. That's not nothing. And the jury is for some reason weirdly positive on him. And they're positive on him because he didn't burn anyone, because he played the game and work with anyone really. Sorry.
Um, so the reason why I went up on Ashley was because she has almost a guaranteed chance to make it to the end. And there's some ways she could get enough votes to win. Eduardo, no matter how the final five shaped out, this was going to be a bad week for him. I don't think he makes it past this week to begin with.
I mean, we're grading final six right now, not five.
But even still, like, we're also grading going into if he's going to even make it to the end. And this is like, honestly, no matter who won HOH, like, this was going to be my thought. There are like multiple, more than like people want him out. So yes, like great for taking out Eric, but also like you just put him up. Like that's all you did. Like this wasn't like a I don't even know if you could count this as your move. Like
Oh, it wasn't his move, respectfully.
and also if he makes it there, I could be eating my words later. I think people are positive towards him now. But like I don't know what he's gonna say in the end. Like I feel like he's gonna flounder. He has nothing to say. So I'm like I worry he could lose votes in the end because he has a few now. I don't know if he's going to be able to a get enough or b even keep the ones he has. So I'm staying at my three.
That's fair.
Okay, Eric.
I mean,
Eric, you did it to yourself. This was,
let's yeah.
and
There's
he knows that by now.
Eric played a great game. Definitely had its flaws throughout. Um, his crucial mistake, and I said it in the moment, you save your allies. You save your allies because yes, people are gonna be like, well, EJ was taken out not because he saved Eric. That wasn't why. You save your allies in this game. You protect them. That decision to not save Dally when she didn't even go home, when you didn't even want her to go home, all to not piss off someone that was never with you in the first place. Guess what came back to bite you? The fact that she won the veto,
It was
and there was
such good karma. Like it
nothing
was
that you
so.
could say to get Dally to be like, you know what? Yeah, let me use the veto on you. She said in her diary, she was like, listen, if you used the veto on me way back then, I would have a real ethical problem, like moral dilemma, like to not use it on him. It would be a lot harder for me to not use it on him. But here we are. And you didn't use it on me. I'm not going to use it on you. You're a huge threat that has protected me 0 times. Goodbye. He said it in his diary room at the end. His biggest fault this season was trusting people that he shouldn't have.
And it was
And
so
it's
funny too. He was like, what was I just gonna say? I completely just blanked what I was gonna say. I literally don't know what I was just gonna say.
he trusted Jacob, who was never with him, and he trusted Dakota, who was with him, but was also with everyone and was making sure that Eric was taken out at this point.
Oh yeah, he was telling Dally, um, he was like, if you want Jacob, I know you want Jacob gone so badly. Like, this is your chance. And she's like, well, I'll evict you, and I'll still be here next week and can play for HOH, and then I'll take him out then. Like, why would? But that's not a reason to keep you. So I thought that was funny. And
Like even
we
if
were saying
Eduardo
this.
puts
We
up,
said this when he didn't use the veto on her, and when he nominated her. Like that was stupid, bad, dumb.
it all came back to bite him. Um,
But I will say, I feel like the season very heavily revolved around him. I feel like all of the major points that happened this season,
he
he
was
was he was
he was
pretty much
one of the main characters this season for
yeah,
sure.
for sure. He is one of, if not the main character of the season, in my opinion. Um,
Um, and I loved watching him play. I
yeah,
loved meeting him,
and
and
also
this
his
just
dedication to the game was great. Like I love how dedicated he was.
yeah, it really just crumbled for him in the
Yeah,
end here.
and it was like a lot of people I feel bad for, but like I can't. Like you did this to yourself. Like I can't feel
Mhm.
bad. But I loved it. I think he was great. I loved having him. Um,
Because in my opinion, this is something that was really in his control.
it was like this was so in his control, and he just floundered it.
Um, I'm unfortunately going to go down to a three for her.
Uh, I think I was considering going all the way down to a two, but I'm gonna go to a three as well because a he was a huge threat and would have done really well on a jury vote, and b because he literally for almost 24 hours did not stop trying in a set cemented vote that was 3-0 no matter what happened. He did not stop trying for almost 24 hours. So that's something I respect a lot, and that's why I'm going to give him a three and not a two because I feel like his karma deserves a two, but I respect his game. So, and his dedication. Oof.
Oh, what a wave.
Oh gosh, this was what was this, the page week? The Yoshi. Oh my gosh. Okay, Jacob.
Let me start.
This is gonna be interesting.
Listen, let me preface by saying every FaceTime and Zoom I have with Jacob, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad like you're on the couch. I'm so glad we met you. Now let's set that aside. And let me put on the record that I've literally never been more aggravated in my entire life watching a player play. Let me say this. I don't think it's not impressive. He's gotten to the end by being a lying, not even two-faced, like 15-faced gaslighter, backstabber, extraordinaire. No, not extraordinaire, like messy. But he got there. What I'll be really interested to see if he's in the final two, which I think, knock on wood, is an unlikely scenario. I think most likely Jacob goes a three. That's kind of where I really see him leading the game. Um, but if he is in the final two, the, he cannot do the thing that he's doing in his diary room, where he's like, I'm a pathological liar. They're calling me that, and they're right. I don't feel bad about any of this.
Yeah,
Eric was great, but he had to go, and I don't feel bad. Like, no, what you need to do is like own up to your game and be like, I took no joy in it, but it's what I had to do to get to the end. Make them feel bad. But I just really think he's gonna go up there and he's gonna be like, haha, I was the mastermind. And I was like, no, this was messy and bad gameplay. And every single person on the jury has walked out the door feeling burned, lied to, and negatively about you. There's an easy way to play the game that you're playing and have people leave feeling okay. And it's literally just letting them know before the vote that you're too big of a threat and I'm sorry. But the way that he lied to Brady, the way that he lied to Eric, the way that he lied to EJ, like it doesn't leave people feeling good. The way that he interacts with Sunny and Dally. So he's got an uphill battle if he makes it to the final two. And even that's a big if, you know? So
want me to go?
yeah, you go.
Okay, we know we were talking about this today. We know this is something that we disagree on. I'll start with the points that I do agree on. I agree that the most likely placement for Jacob is three. I think that's like most likely going to be where he ends up, but not certainly not out of the question that he's in the final two. The thing with Jacob is that you have a few people who are I want to say like at most two. That's my number right now. At most two people who, under any circumstance, will not vote for him to win. Being Sonny and Brady, in my opinion.
I think you've got to loop Dally in there.
I just don't agree with that yet, and I'm waiting until she is evicted to really see where her head is at with that. Sonny and Brady are my two now that I think would never vote for Jacob to win the game. The thing is now we have like a few cheerleaders for Jacob, which is very interesting and something that I was not really expecting.
Define
I,
a few.
well, Alfred,
Alfred.
yeah.
Who else?
Well, let me keep going. Can you let me finish, please?
The answer is just Alfred.
I think that after Eric takes some time, I think that Eric is salty and Eric needs to calm down before he can think rationally. Because really he was saying good things about him before he was like, "Oh, I like why would you not just tell me I'm evicted? Like why are you lying to me?" Blah blah blah. Blah. I think he will come down from that. I think there are people who will vote for him, and I think that I'm starting to lean more that he wins over Ashley. It's gonna be I think it's like 60-40 right now. I'm leaning more towards Jacob than Ashley right now. This would entail him winning the final HOH.
I mean, the thing you also have to remember is if it is Jacob versus Ashley, also, there are the people that are locked to not vote for Jacob. There's also Yoshi who's locked to vote for Ashley.
Yeah, I'm aware. I think a very unlikely scenario would be Jacob versus Dakota.
See, I think that is not as unlikely as you think. Talking with
You think
Dakota,
because
I
you
think
think
his mind
Dakota
is
would
shifting.
take you think Dakota would
And I think
take
Dakota would take Jacob to the final too because he thinks the jury is so bitter against him, which I think that would be a massive mistake.
so that's what I'm saying. I think even next to Dakota, he has a good shot as well. I think that he has people for him, and I think that it's really gonna matter how he says. I think you're right with this as well. I think it's really gonna matter how he says things to the jury, and I literally just cannot tell like what he's thinking in terms of that. But I do have to say, I mean, you said this is impressive, but you don't respect it. I think it's crazy how he has lied and not been loyal to a single person in this game, besides like Anna, I guess, has not been literally loyal to anybody and is somehow here at the final five without ever being on the block at at an eviction, has never received a vote, and is has a good chance of staying this week. He's going to be like the next most likely person to leave this week, but it's crazy. I think that's impressive, but I also respect that a shit ton. Like, I think that's a villainous game, and I think that it's unfortunate that he doesn't see that this is not the kind of jury that will respect that. So that's very interesting. But I honestly think that's so impressive, and I really respect it. And I think that if Eduardo goes and Dally goes next week, which is likely, I think he has a case against Dakota and Ashley.
I don't see the case against Dakota personally because
Well,
I think Jacob
I'm
and
not
Dakota
saying
played two.
okay. I, I'm not saying that I would vote for Jacob over Dakota. I'm saying that I could see some jury members doing that,
I
which
could
is
see some doing it too, but I really don't think the Dakotas and Jacob's game are comparable on. They're comparable in terms of their style, but whereas Dakota was extremely intentional with every single move that he was making, Jacob comes off as frantic, paranoid, and exposes information willy nilly to save his own butt.
no, I understand. I'm saying that while we have Dakota currently ranked as playing the best game, he is not currently number one in the jury's eyes. That's my point.
Agreed.
It doesn't matter what we think, it matters what the jury thinks.
Agreed.
So that's why I think next to Dakota, he has a shot, which is not something I would have said before. Do you know where you're going at? Do you want me to go
Yeah, I'm
first?
definitely raising my score. Um, you go to where you're going first.
I'm going all the way to a 7.
Holy shit.
I think it's Dakota, Dally, Jacob in that order of having the best chance to win this game.
Wait, say that again?
Dakota, Dally, Jacob, 987.
Oh, in terms of their chances to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll be real. I was not even considering anywhere near that high. I think his game it does
I
not
know.
warrant good
I think
scores.
that's I think this is the first time we've disagreed this strongly,
Um,
like on a score for someone.
for me, even if I think he can win, I think Ashley can win. For me, on paper, he has not played a good game, and that's the thing for me. For me, he's lucky that
But
I'm
what
racing the score
defines a good game
high,
for you? I'm confused. Like I don't understand.
making smart moves.
But that's
He's
all
actively
relative.
made.
That's
He's
all
he's
relative.
acting emotionally and irrationally a lot of the time.
But that's all relative and subjective when you make it to the end with a shot to win. Like playing a good game is so subjective. Like,
I
yeah,
agree. I disagree.
he's taken people like he should not have taken Page out that early. Like that was a dumb move. But he's here still. So like what does that speak like what does that speak for him? Like it's the same thing of like what you were saying last time of like, oh, like Dakota and Eric, like, oh, like Eric's played clearly a stronger game, but it doesn't matter if Dakota's played the more under the radar, if they're together in the end, people are gonna vote for Eric. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like the same line of thinking.
Agreed. But that's also saying that Eric played the better, more out in front game.
Then Dakota, I think that's definitely clear.
Yeah. But I'm saying Jacob hasn't played well. And I think you can
And
also make the same case. Like, listen, for Ashley, a lot of the moves that she made have been against her best interest, and she hasn't actively fought for anything. But if she sits in the final two, which is most equal, then like, how can you really say that? Like, I feel like that argument's applied to anyone that makes it to the end. If you make it to the end, you got to the end by playing the game that you did on the season that you did with the people that you did. There's no
but
like
I think it speaks
disregarding that.
higher volume it to the fact that he has been such an out in front player, like loud, has been a threat for weeks, and he's still here and has not even touched the block on eviction night, and has not even won a veto either. Like hasn't been on the block on eviction night, but also hasn't like saved his own ass yet.
For sure.
And maybe it's just because
But
we
I
have a
think
lot.
there's such a lack of strategy, or sorry, lack of good strategy. I just think he's been wrong about so many things.
I agree. I
So
like
like
we're
I'm not going to come close to ranking him. Although I agree with you that he's probably the third most likely to win the game, and my score will reflect that. But for me, he's whereas I think that if it's Jacob versus Dally or Jacob versus Dakota, the vote will end up. Sure, there are those people that I think will definitely vote for Jacob, but I think that Dally and Dakota both probably walk away with
well,
the
I
majority
think
of the votes.
yeah.
Whereas if he's up against Eduardo or Ashley, yes, I think Jacob probably wins, but it is a much closer. He's closer to losing to Ashley and Eduardo than he is to beating Dally and Dakota, in my opinion. And that's why for me, I'm raising my score above Ashley and Eduardo, but only by 1 point. I'm going to a 5 for Jacob.
Okay. I think we're agreeing on critical points here.
We're agreeing on his chances to win the game.
And I also agree that he has made wrong moves and has been dumb. I agree with that. But it's like I'm gonna take the Page example again. It's like, yeah, we thought him taking out Page was a bad idea, but Eric's still stuck with him and he's here, It's like if
But
he
again, that
thought that
has
was
to
a good
do with
idea, and maybe it was a good idea. Like maybe in his eyes that was a good move. And maybe it
And he
just
decides it was a good move. He's made that abundantly clear,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But we thought that was a terrible move.
which I still stand by. But I hear what you're saying with
Yeah.
if he's in the
So that's what I'm saying. I
end,
think we're
it
agreeing on a lot
clearly
of things.
like I don't you can't argue that it didn't work out because it did work out if he was sitting in the end. But that doesn't change the fact that strategically at that time, when Paige was someone who was going to rock with you to final three, and Dakota was someone actively targeting you in the game, that you would think
For sure.
that
No,
Paige is the person to take out.
I agree, which is why I ranked him low that week. And now that we were like, oh, I think this was similar to how we think differently when it came to that Cade week. Yeah, I ranked him low that week because it was a bad move, but it wasn't a bad move after all. Like it worked for him. Like that was a good that was ended up being good.
There's a difference between it working and it working out. This is something that worked out for Jacob because he was able to recover from a bad move. I don't think you can walk away from that week going, "Oh, it worked out. It was a good move for him." No, it was a
Which is
bad
why he
move
was low that week.
that he recovered from.
Which is like recover like his line goes down. Oh, he recovered from it. Okay, going up.
And again, that recovery also is dependent, peace and love, on Eric being a stupid
That's
dum
what I'm
dum.
saying. That's what I was saying. I think it has a lot to do with some people in this game are just
And it
stupid.
has to do with the people that you play with. And again, that's totally fine. Jacob is playing this game on this season with these people. That
And it's
is part of
and also I think it speaks a lot to his social game as well. If Eric really trusted him that much after he literally took a sharp knife and stabbed him in the back.
for me, the strongest aspect to Jacob's game that I don't even think he necessarily realizes is peace and love. This is going to sound bad. His ability to pathologically lie and gaslight people. If you're on a FaceTime with him, he has a way of speaking that like you would never ever believe that he could possibly even consider not being with you. For example, Brady heard from multiple people that Jacob said to them, "I'm voting Brady out." Brady goes back and says, "Jacob, I'm hearing this from people." Jacob gets on one FaceTime with Brady and goes, "Brady, I don't know what they're saying. I'm with you." Like looks in her eyes. "I'm with you. Like you and me. You say like I'm one of your like I would never vote you out. Like that just doesn't make sense for me. Can like I mean, does it make sense for me?" And like he plays dumb, and it's like that's the strongest thing. It's disgusting to watch.
I
It
think
makes
it's
me
entertaining.
queasy.
Like that's what I'm saying.
And again, and that's fine. It makes me queasy to my stomach, but it's also a game, and you got to do what you got to do. That's his strongest. That's and I'll praise that in terms of a quality to have that works in the game. I think it is also quality that's going to lead largely
See, that's
to
what
the
I'm saying. I
victory that
think
he's going to
I
face.
I really enjoy that, but I think that's something that's bad for him. I think he's using it too much and it's hurting him with the jury votes. So it's very interesting, but I'm very interested. I mean, as much as I want this season to be predictable in its finish, I don't want it to be predictable in its finish. So it's like very I don't know what's gonna happen, but
Mine unpredictable. I want someone in that dark green score winning the game, point blank and period. If we don't have
I don't know. Now I'm hyped up on Jacob. I don't know. I literally don't know.
And I'll be honest, I would no longer hate Jacob winning as much as I did last week. So
Yeah, I
kudos for
agree.
that. But that does not change the fact that I would be much happier with Dalia or Dakota winning this season.
It really took me this week to be like,
But I would very much not like Jacob losing to Ashley or Gordo.
yeah, this is crazy. This is wild.
Yeah.
This has to be the score that the person we've disagreed the most on ever. I think. I
We're disagreeing, but we're also
we're
agreeing.
agreeing on. I think we're
We're
agreeing
agreeing
on
on
a
his
lot of the.
chances. We're really disagreeing on
I think it's more than that. I think we're agreeing on a lot of things, but we're disagreeing on how it's affecting him and how we either respect it or don't respect it, which is fair. So Very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Currently, I would not. If I was in the game and I went out on a conversation that like Jacob had with Brady, and I'm very big on I hate when juries are bitter over the game. But if someone like like that really blurs the line of like
I agree. I would
when
I
it's
would really set that if I
unnecessary.
was
And
playing, I would
he's the only one, in my opinion, that warrants a bitter jury.
it's gonna be interesting because honestly, I haven't decided out of Dali and Dakota which one I really want to win the most because Dali has really gone up for me a lot in these past 1 or 2
Me
weeks.
too. I think right now, if I had to answer for you, which person for me like makes me leave this season feeling the best? For me, it's actually Dally right now.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's because the jury is rallying behind her and rooting for her. I think that's a large thing. And I think it's a large thing of no one really sees Dakota's game currently. But currently, I would say I want Dally to win the game the most. However, I think that she's one of the more unlikely wins right now due to her probably going out at the final four.
But in all honesty, like we've been saying Dakota the lock for the web. People have like floundered on the web before. I mean, it's not just straight up
Exactly.
you're asking, it's a puzzle. Like it's not just straight up asking questions and answering them, it's a puzzle. So it's going to be who has the best strategy going in. I think if Dally studies, gives it a little bit of effort and studies, I think she's good at puzzles and I think she might be able to take it. I mean, I don't know, but
Dally's someone that's good at competitions.
yeah.
So
I
like whereas Dakota's issue is going to be physically doing a web puzzle, not the information. Dally's, I think, struggle will be the information, not the puzzle itself. And the thing is, Dally can plan up with information. Dakota can't necessarily plan up with the puzzle. So if Dally does the work, she could. The question is she? She knows it's
okay.
coming.
I
Dally warned her.
I hope she's in the final four and she's not like, oh, I made it to the final four. Okay. Like I
That would
hope
be just being dilly dallying.
she's like I'm here at the end. I'm 2 days away from finishing the fucking season. Like, come on. Because I mean, she said tonight she was like, she said to people, she's like, oh, I think the veto this week is gonna be like season trivia, um, but like I don't really know that. I'm hoping that it's only because she's HOH this week that she's being nonchalant about it, that she doesn't really need to win the veto. And I'm hoping next week when it's like literally this competition is like her life or death in the game that she studies a little bit.
We're on such a range of where the season could end for me in terms of
And
it's
here's
such a
an interesting point is that last week, for the past few weeks, I was like, Dakota Dally Eric, like one of those three wins the season or it sucks. Honestly, if Jacob were to win, it would not be as good, but I wouldn't say it would be really bad. To be really honest, I would be happy.
happy is a strong word.
I
I
would,
wouldn't be dissatisfied.
especially with what I was thinking the last few weeks. I would definitely be satisfied. Mm, I would definitely be happy. I don't know if I'd be satisfied, but yeah, definitely different to how I was feeling the past few weeks. So we'll see
Yeah, it also if Jacob wins, it also so heavily depends on who he's sitting next to,
for sure.
how he gives his final speeches, how these final weeks play out. Like there's so much left to for me determine how I feel about Jacob. Whereas I don't see how I feel about the other four still left in the game changing.
Ooh, okay,
With that, I think we're
I'm
good to
good.
wrap it up here.
Okay, good night, everybody.